OTB AM.
With Gillette, put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
I signed for them after the Euros, and after my first day's training I was driving home, I was actually thinking, regretting it, what have I done? Like I walked into a circus. It's amazing, isn't it?
You were listening to Pearl Slattery talking to Kathleen and Karen in this week's episode of the Koi Gig Pod on OTB Sports in association with Cadbury FC, official snack partner to the Republic of Ireland's women's national team. Full episode is available right now on the OTB Sports app, and you can watch it on YouTube as well. It is time for Deal or No Deal with Phil Egan. Phil, good morning to you. We're starting with Yuri Tielemans, who I think, like, over the last 12 to 18 months, I mean, Leicester are obviously in the top 10 at the moment. Otherwise, he would have been top of Nathan's top 10 players outside the top 10. But they're there by their fingernails at the moment. This guy's got 18 months left of his contract. If you're Leicester City, what do? Do you cash in now? Do you try and set an auction up in the summer and maximise as much as you can get? Because he ain't signing a new deal, is he?
No, definitely not. No, I think they'll cash in the summer. And if you're Yuri Tielemans, you're looking around going, this is probably as good as it's going to get. For Leicester, he obviously scored the winning goal in the FA Cup final. They're not going to get Champions League. They obviously went close the last couple of seasons. He's 24. He must be looking around at other teams in the Premier League thinking, I could do some good stuff in those teams. And I'd say some of the bigger clubs are looking at him. He keeps getting linked with Liverpool and Manchester City. But I think most players, it's no harm being linked with Liverpool or Manchester City. It means you're going in the right direction. I certainly think in terms of Liverpool, one position or one unit that has let them down this season is midfield, be it injuries or just probably lack of quality at times, but that probably comes from the injuries. Thiago is meant to be the player in there that controls games, but he just doesn't play enough games, and there's matches where Liverpool have dropped points because they just have lack control in midfield, where I think to the Brentford game away, Spurs away, Chelsea away, what was the other game? The Brighton game at home. Thiago didn't play any of those games, where there's going to be moments in a match where you're under the cosh. You need somebody to put their foot in the ball, slow things down and be able to take the ball in tight spaces, where Liverpool's success under Klopp when they won the Premier League and Champions League was an all-energy midfield that would get the ball back straight away. Thiago was signed to try and change things up, but it just hasn't worked out yet because he's been injured. And you wonder, will Liverpool look in the summer thinking we need to bring in a couple of players to bolster that midfield to get something different in there that and Tielemans would fit the bill. He could slot into the Manchester City midfield no problem. And one thing as well, we've seen, I mentioned his goal in the cup final, he can ping one in from 30 yards.
Is he a 6? Is he an 8? What is he?
I would think probably an 8.
Right.
But you could play him as a 6 in, say, a City team because they have so much possession of the football. So he could play in either position. You could also play him in a 4-2-3-1. So, you know, I think he's a really good
United.
Midfield. He could play for United.
Would he be cheaper than Rice and a better?
Different type of player, I think, than Rice. I think technically a better player than Rice. Rice probably has a better engine than him. You know, can probably carry the ball a bit better than them.
How much is he?
I'd say you're looking at 50 million.
That's pretty cheap when Bissouma is 50 million or 40 million.
I mean, these are those two players you mentioned. They're Premier League ready, so you don't have to worry about them not being able to do it in the Premier League if you're a Premier League club.
Okay, so why would somebody not try and tempt Leicester with that now? Get that deal done, have them for the rest of this season. So you catapult into next season with everything kind of ready to go.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if Leicester let him go. I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan Rodgers or the owners had said to him, look, we're not going to let you go in January. So, you know, just finish off the season, see what you can do, and we'll let you go in the summer if the price is right. Is
the constant speculation around Brendan Rodgers fueling players not signing new deals at Leicester?
No, I don't think so. I just think Leicester are a very well-run club in terms of they spot talent, they develop it, and then they sell them on. And I think if you're players like, you know, you mentioned somebody like Tielemans, maybe someone like Harvey Barnes who has signed the new contract, that doesn't necessarily mean that he wouldn't be tempted by a move away. But as I said, I think this is as good as it's going to get for Leicester. They are not going to get that top 4 spot that they came so close to the last couple of seasons. They're getting further away. Now, they have been plagued by injuries at the back, and there's a reason that they're so far down the table compared to previous seasons, because they're just leaking too many goals. They can't defend set pieces. I think Kasper Schmeichel has certainly, his form has dipped. You know, he still pulls off some great saves, but they're just not as solid. And I think last week's game against Spurs was the perfect example of what's going wrong with Leicester, that they just can't do it anymore.
Would Manchester United be in the top 3 if they had started the season with Yuri Tielemans and Wilfred Ndidi as opposed to Scott McTominay and Fred?
Who's the manager?
Same. Everything else is the same. Just midfield. Take Leicester's midfield.
So you're saying Solskjaer starts as the manager?
Yeah.
Ronaldo has signed as well?
Everything else is the same.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, it's hard to know, because those kind of players, if they go to a club like Manchester United, there's so much more pressure on them. You can have a bad game for Leicester.
Could McTominay play for Liverpool? If McTominay was in alongside Henderson and another, is he totally fine? Actually quite good?
I actually think so.
And Fred the same?
Yeah, maybe that's the question. How would Leicester have won the FA Cup with? Well, no. Tielemans scores McTominay's got on the end of a couple of goals recently. Like, can he? Maybe.
Is it just that the whole?
No. I think the point of McTominay and Fred, say in a 3-man midfield playing as your 2/8s, where you're an all-energy midfield, that works better than the way they play with United, where at times it's quite pedestrian and they're expected to run games. That's not, like, they're athletic players who have plenty of energy. They can hunt, get the ball back for you, and then just feed the attack. And
I think Fred could be really good in the right scenario. Like, I think if he goes to somewhere that fully understands how to use him next time, or if a manager comes in and knows how to understand him, I think he's got really good ball skills and seems to have really good energy. It's just that, like, they were playing him as a out-and-out defensive midfielder in a team that was getting completely destroyed and had no pace in its centre-backs for the last 3 seasons. And, like, even still, their centre-back situation, Varane is in and out with injuries. Yeah. Very difficult to run that midfield when you're not actually, that's not your skill set. Anyway, sorry.
No, but that sums up what is wrong at Manchester United at the moment. They have all these players, but they just haven't really worked out a system to play, and they've players playing in systems that don't work. And this is what Rangnick has to try and sort out. And if he brings in a new manager, this is what they're going to have to sort out. It's not an easy fix.
Luis Diaz, Porto and Colombia winner, or maybe it's Luis Diaz, I don't know, has clocked up 14 goals in 18 Premier Liga matches. This is a sensational strike rate, right? Man United, Atletico and Dortmund are all linked with him. Spurs are reported to have had a £38 million offer shot down. Is he the next Fernandes style export from the Portuguese league? Is he ready to go straight in somewhere?
Yeah, Liverpool fans would have got to see him play against them in the Champions League this season. And again, he's been linked with Liverpool because he is your modern day left winger, right-footed, inverted winger, where likes to cut inside, quite creative, quite a good finisher, quite a cool finisher, and also plays with his head up and likes to take on a player. Has more than 30 caps for Colombia. He's just gone 25, so you would feel now is the time for him to move. Atletico, I wonder would he be tempted by Atletico, where you're not moving to the Premier League, but you're moving to a quality team in Atletico. Again, Porto would have played against Atletico.
It's a big step up, but it's not the physical difference.
That's it. You don't know how he's going to adapt to the Premier League, the pace of it. From what I've seen of him, he's no problem working hard, and he does score some sensational goals as well. And maybe Spurs would be a good move for him. I don't know where he fits into the Spurs system, because obviously Conte likes to play 3 at the back. He naturally looks like he's set up to play in a 4-3-3.
Okay. Newcastle's advances in Jesse Lingard have apparently been derailed. Sky Sports News report that they believe Manchester United's desired loan fee was unreasonable. They're probably looking at what's happened with Martial and Sevilla, where similar happened, and then no loan fee ends up getting paid, and going, well, hang on, how come? So Nice and West Ham have been linked with the 29-year-old. Where will Jesse Lingard be at the end of the transfer window?
You would think of those two teams, West Ham would make more sense because he was there last season, and what did he scored 9 goals in the 16 games that he was there, and likes it there, so much so that he even scored off the bench for United away to West Ham. The winning goal, it was a cracking goal, and he hasn't played. He hasn't started a Premier League game for United this season. But this goes back to what I was saying about United and just a bit of the mess that they're in, where Martial's gone to Sevilla. He's taken a £1 million pay cut to try to get out of there. So you've got players that are on inflated wages, so it's very hard to clear them. And
the papers tell me that Martial's on 200 grand a week, but Spotrac says he's on 250 grand a week, and he signed a 6-year deal which is worth 78 million, so he can afford the 1 million off this year, on the understanding that actually the contract will just revert back to what it was normally in the summertime. Yeah,
and he wants to just get out of that environment for a while and try something different. And Sevilla are obviously going well in the Spanish league. They're just a few points behind Real Madrid, and
Lopetegui potentially takes him and then comes back in the summer as the Man United manager and is like, hey, come on, buddy, let's go.
I still have flashbacks at that day that Lopetegui was
walked out in
Spain as we were getting ready for
Was he not
the World
sacked?
Cup.
No, he walked out. He was sacked because he took to Real Madrid. He couldn't do.
He was totally sacked. They could have just kept him there for
Spanish
the
Football Federation getting a bit.
And he was sacked by Real Madrid. But in fairness, he's regrouped. But again, I don't know if that appointment would excite United fans. But then again, is that maybe it's a sensible option, and United haven't had sensible options the last couple of times.
They got very excited about Jose, and they got very excited about Solskjaer, and no thanks, no excitement.
You know the way you said there, Jesse Lingard hasn't started enough games for Manchester United this season, as a result hasn't got enough goals. The one way he could have altered that is by going to a whiteboard, putting Jesse 3.0 up there and saying targeted appearances 20, targeted goals 9. I bet he didn't do that this season, and as a result that's where we are.
Is that right?
He did actually trail off a bit with West Ham last season, and I wondered when he was flying for them where he was the best player in the world. Not quite, but I wondered, was he just that fresh in a season that
everyone
was quite tired, and he just came in and he was...
It's the same thing could happen this year. He'd get a good contract off the back of that if he was to play some football over the next few months.
Positive attitude, confidence, belief, that's what it was down to quote Jesse Lingard on his whiteboard himself. They were
I think it would be a good move for both. I think West Ham are... Looking at them the last few weeks, they look a bit jaded, and maybe something like Jesse Lingard would freshen them up. And we know that wherever he goes, whatever people think of Jesse Lingard, he is a popular player in the dressing room, and he brings
he was class last year.
A bit of dancing, a bit of energy, and more importantly for West Ham last season, he brought goals.
Hanging out with some controversial rappers as well. We've got about 35 seconds left to go. So the Athletic have an update on Man United's manager hunt. Lopetegui is still in it. Ten Hag and Pochettino, they seem to be the last 3 in consideration at the moment. Between 1 and 10, how likely is Ranić to become permanent manager at this stage, do you think? And also, who of that 3 do you want? If you're a Man United fan, not you.
I would say, could you put 0 in for Ranić?
Yeah, fair enough.
And then of the 3, Ten Hag is the one, I think. But there again, it's a risk. We know Pochettino's managed in the Premier League, whereas Ten Hag hasn't. But from what we've seen and what he's done with Ajax, he's very impressive. You definitely play football in the right way. But again, as good as Ajax are and the pedigree they have, Manchester United is just a different beast. I just don't know if there's a manager out there in the next couple of seasons that can actually work at Manchester United.
All right, last one, Villa and Joe Gomez. He seems to be further and further down Jurgen Klopp's depth chart at the moment. Does this make sense for both parties, for the 3 parties involved?
To go to Villa?
Yeah.
Not in January, but the problem for Joe Gomez is Joe Matip. He's played 25 games over the last couple of seasons. Now he's already played 25 games this season. He wasn't meant to be fit, and he's so good that Klopp can't leave him out. And then he obviously signed Konate, so Gomez has gone down again, hasn't started a Premier League game. He's come off the bench 4 times in the Premier League, 3 times 1-minute appearances. The other time, 12 minutes. The only reason? James Milner was walking on eggshells against Manchester City. He was on a yellow and should have been sent off for a second yellow, so Klopp took him off. So that's pretty much, that sums up where Joe Gomez is at the moment. And it's a shame because he was so pivotal to the team that won the Premier League.
Is it also to do with, does Klopp really want to keep him in terms of that versatility as well? That if something ever happened to Trent,
absolutely.
he'd come in, but he's also been on form and fit as well this season.
Yeah.
If Liverpool want to convince TVG, they need to show him a bit of love, give him Joe Gomez on the cheap, and this is that's one in the pocket there when FSG come calling after.
I don't
He'll
think
take
that's
Divock Origi
how it
as
works.
well.
Yeah, no Origi, thanks, but Phil, good stuff.